Hello everyone and welcome to day 4 and session number 8 of the AMBA MBA Business School Leaders Forum, brought to you by GoToWebinar and LogMeIn. I'm David Woods-Hell, Director of Marketing and Communications at AMBA MBA, joining you this morning from a very stormy London, but I'm very grateful that we can go straight to Lisbon in Portugal, where we have Maria Jose Amic, Executive Director of the Lisbon MBA, which is jointly provided by Católica and Nova. And she's going to tackle the question, what is the value of an MBA in today's business environment? If you haven't joined one of these sessions before, I just want to let you know that we would like the session to be as interactive as possible. So you can ask questions and put forward comments throughout the entire conversation. Just pop them in the little box on your control panel, and I'll try and get through as many of the questions as we can towards the end of the session. Also, during the conversation, please feel free to share your thoughts and musings on the social channel of your choice. Just use the hashtag BSLF, and I'll pop that in the chat box for you as well. I'll be in the line throughout the webinar, so if you've got any queries, you just want to run anything past me, just pop them in the Q&A box and I'll come straight back to you. I'll also put some useful pieces of information as to how you can make the most of the forum throughout the session, as well as some useful links, so just keep an eye out for those. Okay, so without further ado, I'm now going to pass over to Maria.
Well, thank you, David, and thank you, AMBA, for inviting me to give this webinar. It's an honor for me. It's not stormy here in Lisbon, it's pretty sunny. My name is, as David said, is Maria Jose Amic. I'm the Executive Director of the Lisbon MBA, Católica Nova. I am in this position for a little bit over than 1 year. Before that, I was almost 30 years in different roles and positions in the corporate world. I started in banking, I moved then to the FMCG. I have experience in the media sector, in retail, fashion, and consulting lately. I have a degree in economics and an MBA from the YES Business School in Spain. Just a little bit of about the Lisbon MBA. So we started in 2007. It's a joint venture between the two leading business schools in Portugal, Católica Lisbon and Nova School of Business and Economics, in collaboration with MIT Sloan School of Management. As a joint MBA program offering, we have two programs, an international full-time MBA that takes 1 year and an executive 21-month part-time MBA. We're recognized with the Triple Crown accreditation. We're ranked number 22 in Europe, 84 in the world in the global MBA FT rankings, and we're very proud to be number 1 in the world in the international course experience criteria for the 3rd consecutive year. Our value proposition relies on 5 strategic pillars: global experience, a holistic development approach, an outstanding action learning program, a meaningful career advancement, and Lisbon as a diverse entrepreneurial city. We do believe it's the best place to take an MBA in our opening, welcoming city. You can see below 3 pictures of the 3 campuses where the programs take place. The Nova SBE, it's a brand new campus that was opened in 2018. It overlooks the ocean and it's about 20 minutes away from Lisbon. Católica Lisbon, it's an older building, a traditional building in the city, in the center of the city, and the MIT Sloan in Boston, where our students go through an immersion program during 1 month in the program. So without more delay, I will address the topic today, and let me start by sharing with you a little bit of what I think it's the context right now. Well, we knew that technology has been taking over for years now, but this abrupt rise of technology due to the global pandemic has had a tremendous impact. I think there is no business, no industry or sector that is not being affected by the rise of this digital transformation. Already in 2018, the World Economic Forum forecasted that the average machine and automation-based contribute to labor would be 42%. At the time, it was 29%. And they estimated that this would threaten 75 million people who could be out of work in just 4 years. But again, McKinsey already in 2017 estimated that 60% of all jobs could see more than 30% of their key tasks being automated, affecting no less than 400 million jobs around the world. Well, with this pandemic, certainly these trends have now accelerated and are probably irreversible. And on top of this, we have seen the workplace that has changed overnight. We're now all working online with teams scattered around the world. And also, you know, we had already a multidimensional, multicultural, multi-styled workplace as never before, because we have several generations coexisting in the workplace, and generations that have diverse set of skills and diverse set of motivations and are now working in this digital environment. So we believe that managers, strategists, and foremost leaders need to adopt very quickly these new technologies, but should also anticipate how their sectors are going to change. And also many have to rethink how their business models need to change in order to continue being relevant and to continue being competitive, so not to disappear in this new normal. So managers, of course, need to develop these new skills to be working in a digital environment, and also to work with these different generations that we mentioned, because one is the young that have this energy and there's their digital know-how, they are digital natives, but also on the other hand, the experience and wisdom of those who are halfway or beyond in their careers. Also, we're driving through growth, but we do need to do it in a sustainable way. And here inclusion is going to play a key role. I believe that many countries and governments will have to work together to bring policies, common policies to make inclusion a key point, so we don't leave anyone behind. And also before the pandemics, there was a growing sense that shareholder value should not be the only corporate value. McKinsey already used this triple bottom line when valuing businesses, which is profit, people, and planet. And I think we should add the word resilience, how companies are developing this resilience in order to respond to outside shocks like this pandemic, and unfortunately many that will come in the future. So we think we're facing the so-called contemporary business paradox, which is the more technology daily lives and business, the more valued inherent human qualities and skills become essential in managers and in leaders, of course. And the question is this a threat, or certainly a threat for businesses, but is this an opportunity for business schools? And I think there is a tremendous opportunity. We have seen that every time there is, in history, there is a revolution in business, an industrial revolution, and now the digital revolution, there is a revolution in education, because there is an increasing need to upskill our workforce, but certainly upskill the leaders with the skills and tools they need to go through this digital transformation. So I would say the question is, are organizations and their leaders well equipped to meet these challenges? And how can business schools enable executives to develop the set of competences and skills that will help them succeed navigate these volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous, and I would add, hyper-connected times? So entering into trying to answer the value of the MBA in today's business environment, I'll give you my opinion, and I hope then we can discuss and get insights also from all of you. We know, or at least we have been already with several surveys that say that the MBA program has established itself as the gold standard of quality management education around the globe, as well as across industries and sectors. It is true that every time there are more programs expanding all over the world, and also that the MBA, certainly some formats of MBA are decreasing in terms of applications in certain countries more than others, but there is still, through the surveys that GMAC, for instance, puts in place, the MBA program continues to be the most popular choice from candidates all over the world. And why is this? I think in the one hand, it's because we're staying true to this original premise, which was to keep in touch with the business world. Let's remember that the MBA, if I'm not mistaken, started already 100 years ago, and we have been continuously adapting and improving our offer. And this is done working very closely with employers, with recruiters, to identify which are the skills, which are the knowledge, technical and soft skills that leaders need in order to succeed in the new environment. Also, professors, normally they do their research very much oriented on practical subjects, which are including the most innovative management topics. And of course, all this is to do the basic thing, which is to adapt our curricula and also our methodologies to tailor and to be refined to respond to this market needs. And this methodology, it's also interesting because more and more we are co-creating in this knowledge ecosystem. So bringing on board not only faculty, but also practitioners, senior business leaders, in order to mirror these market needs. But one could say, okay, this is something that the MBA programs does, but so do all other programs or many other programs in executive education. So what is really the distinctive value of an MBA? So I would say that it's these two words. I think it's a transformational experience. It's a life change experience that goes beyond knowledge. Of course, knowledge is important, learning about the business fundamentals that are taught through the courses, the core courses and the electives, and bringing, as I said, all these new trends and all these management topics like data analytics and cybersecurity and so on, which are very important in this digital transformation. But it's more than this. It's a transformational experience that it's a journey that starts with self-awareness and self-development. And I think it's a set of skills and also attitudes and values that will accompany students for the rest of their lives. But going a little bit more in depth of what I mean by this transformational experience and how we deliver this transformational experience. One, it's obviously this knowledge that we bring to students, and how we do it. I think it's also a very valuable way, which is this action learning approach that many MBAs, if not all, are doing. So our students learn by doing, but by failing and by redoing and refining and doing things again and getting their feedback, not only from their professors and counselors, but also from their peers. So there is like a collective shared learning, which is key to the development. And we do it in different manners, from business projects, business simulations, in companies, consulting labs, so on and so forth. Also, the focus in an entrepreneurial mindset. This is more and more important, I think, in businesses today. As an employer told me very recently, he said, we need managers who are as creative as entrepreneurs, and we need entrepreneurs as organized as managers. So I think in the MBA, we do something quite unique, which is to push students to be out of their comfort zone, to be challenged and to challenge themselves, the status quo, and be creative, thinking out of the box, individually and collectively. And also we know that MBAs are more and more the birthplace of great ideas and the launch of great startups. So this entrepreneurial ecosystem, which by the way in Lisbon is very much developed, is certainly more and more important, and it's something that MBAs are doing more and more. Also, again, because one of the biggest motivations of MBAs, it's also increasing in terms of wanting to launch their own entrepreneurial venture. International exposure, I think most of MBAs are also trying to do this. They do it in several ways. Some are partnering with other universities, like we do with MIT Sloan. So our students have the perspective of business in Europe, but also in the United States. And we also have collaborations with other business schools around the globe. But this is, I think, very important because students learn to understand how businesses are conducted in different cultures. But also, I would say, the benefit of having an international and diverse classroom, which is also an increasing benefit that MBAs are giving to prospect candidates, in order to learn about these intercultural skills and competences in order to drive an international career. Well, as I said in the beginning, this transformational experience is very much about personal and professional self-development. This, I think, it's absolutely a key distinctive factor of an MBA and a great value, because we offer a safe and supportive environment for students basically to explore and find their weaknesses and also their strengths, and get the actionable strategies to improve, not only as professionals, but also as human beings. And of course, another important factor is this meaningful career advancement. I think there is no MBA that doesn't deliver outstanding career services, which help students to one way find their purpose, but also find what competencies they are lacking to go for the career goal they want, and also to find if this is relevant, if this answers a need of the market, so that they don't go into the what we call the irrelevant trap of a career. Networking, I think this is another very valuable factor that we give students. Not only they develop long-lasting relations with their peers, they bond with their peers, but also with professors and also the alumni communities, which accompany you for the rest of your life. And it's a source of learning, it's a source of connections, and we teach our students to network. This is something you don't learn in a class. You can get some tips, but you learn by doing. And what we emphasize is that networking is not a transaction. It's more about building a relation, and which starts by giving before thinking you're getting something in return. So. And last but not least, I think this is one of the biggest outcomes of someone who goes through this transformational experience, which is developing this attitude of lifelong learning. We live, as I said in the beginning, very fast-moving times, very ambiguous, very uncertain. And one of the things we know is that, unfortunately, what we learn today might be obsolete tomorrow. So having this attitude of wanting to learn, this drive, this desire of wanting to continue learning throughout your life and adapting change, it's a very valuable attitude that comes with this MBA experience. So in one long sentence, I think the value of an MBA is to provide students a transformational experience that enables them to build the adequate mindset and brain power to manage complex challenges, to develop creative solutions, and to lead innovative change, optimizing business performance and making a positive impact in society. So is there space to improve this MBA experience? Well, not only I think there is a space, as there is a need to continue improving this MBA experience. As I said before, I mean, one of the most important priorities is to be relevant and to update our curriculum to answer the needs and to integrate all the trends, no matter how disruptive trends they are. We need to do, of course, remote and interactive capabilities. Right now, it's a key skill to develop. Everything that has to do with digital transformation, For instance, big data analysis is said in several surveys that is one of the rarest and most difficult skills to recruit. So in my view, I think not only we need to have elective courses or core courses with several topics regarding this digital transformation, being cybersecurity, Internet of Things, or others, but we need to embed these tools in a transdisciplinary way, so in all the courses, because more and more, as I said before, this digital breakthrough is affecting everything: operations, marketing, finance, the way we relate, the way we behave. So it has to be, in my view, there has to be an effort from academics and MBA executives to try to mirror the market and to update the way we deliver our content, introducing this digital transformation in every course. It's interesting because in the Financial Times 2018 skills gap survey, when they asked students what they believe they were most proficient in after completing the MBA, they answered drive and resilience and the ability to solve complex problems. And when they asked employers, they answered that these were two of the most difficult skills to recruit. So I think, again, we have to really find if we're doing the right job, putting our students in uncomfortable situations to drive this resilience. For instance, now with this online learning that we had to all implement in 24 hours, it's been difficult. Students have had a difficult time, like everyone else. I mean, going to work and study and take care of small children or of grandparents, all at the same time. And I think it has been a great opportunity for them also to understand that resilience is a key word, that the keyword and attitude that they need to develop to go through these times and future times that are going to be as complex and demanding as the ones we're living. And again, ability to solve complex problems. So I think, as I say in the next slide or a slide later on, it's also very important to put students with different people who think differently, who come from different backgrounds, who have cultural differences, so that they question their assumptions and perceptions, but also others, in order to constructively find solutions to complex problems. Another thing that I think it's very important, and I think most of MBAs are doing, it's including social responsibility, ethics, and environmental issues in their curricula. Surprisingly, in the 2018 skills gap survey, that was one of the least important skills for employers. But I think this is something that has changed already, and it's going to change even more. And as I said in the beginning, more and more investors are looking into how companies not only are delivering profit, but are also taking care of the planet and making an impact, a positive impact in all the stakeholders, in the people and the environment and the society. So this is what I mentioned before about certain soft skills that and hard skills that employers find difficult when they hire MBAs. And I think we need to be a little bit more ambitious in trying to be selective in the admissions process. Right now, I think many schools, because of the situation, are lowering their standards. But it's not just about the intellect of our prospects, but also enhancing this diversity. in order to foster the capacity of students to work with others in unfamiliar challenges. And this is something we need to keep doing in order to prepare, these future leaders to deal in complex situations and in complex workplaces. Well, as we all know, there is a shift in the world for protectionism and isolation, and I think we have to be the example of rebuffing this trend. And many schools are already collaborating, some because they need to in order to be competitive. But I think more and more it's important to share resources, expertise, research, connections to deliver these competitive programs with a broader perspective. Maybe we can talk a little bit more about consolidation. I think there's going to be a possible consolidation of business schools. I mean, when I mean consolidation, I mean merging. And this is something that we will probably see as a trend in the future. I think it's also, teachers are doing this, but they know that it's not just delivering knowledge and sharing knowledge, but really becoming mentors of students, providing guidance and orientation, being what we call the sparring partners that challenge the way students think, putting the tough questions and helping them to get to the core of issues. And also teachers more and more, not only practitioners are coming into class, but teachers are also sitting in boardrooms. So they bring this external business perspective so that students gain the insights they need to go about in business in real life. And last but not least, a higher purpose. We know that many MBAs are coming to the programs. As I mentioned before, they already know that they want to define a bigger purpose in their lives, and they want to find their passion. And so they enroll in an MBA program. And we know that millennials certainly, they quest for this deeper meaning and novel cause in every business undertaking. So it's also our role to find what is our higher purpose and how we act upon it. So how we become in each community an active agent for improving, for supporting, and for giving back to the community we belong. So just as a final thought, I think we all need to work together to change the corporate management mindset, because I do think still corporations, they look at this investing in human capital development through the lifelong learning that it's necessary, and it becomes a necessity, but they still look at it as sometimes a financial liability. So I was a bit maybe quicker than you expected, but thank you, and I am now ready for any questions or to discuss any issues.
Hi, Maria. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, it's possibly a good thing you finished a little bit early, because we've got loads of questions come through. So I'm going to crack on with the first one now. Somebody has asked, you mentioned areas of transformational experience in the MBA, and they're just wondering how you think that these areas of transformational experience can be impacted by moving online, and what your advice for schools in terms of mitigating this would be.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because we were already struggling before going into digital. If these kind of skills, because many schools and ours, for instance, our MBA, we have specific programs, right? We have, we call the Friday Forum and the leadership stream for the different programs. And it's an isolated program, I must say, that with workshops and role playing and inviting several experts, students develop these, we don't call it soft skills, we call it deep skills, transversal deep skills. And I believe this is something we will need to change, in the sense that these are skills that have to be taught also in every core and elective course. It has to be it has to be during the whole program and transdisciplinary. And of course, in this online environment, it becomes more challenging. Even communication has become a challenge. On the one hand, because we need to communicate more, but also because we need to improve the way we do it to get this engagement. Also in terms of peer feedback, it's a challenge. Because one of the funnily enough, we have the executive students that were asking, why don't we have more online content and more online delivery? And now that they're all online, they all want to go back to campus and have face-to-face because they understood the importance of this human contact. But I don't have a real answer. I think we will have to learn by doing and sharing. But it's not an easy task to specifically train these soft skills in a digital environment.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. On the same note around the transformational experience of the MBA, another delegate has asked how you would really measure this transformational experience. How does that look in tangible terms?
Well, it's about all the skills that we are looking at when companies are evaluating the interest of sending someone to do an MBA. It's critical thinking, it's strategic thinking, it's resilience, it's empathy, it's creativity, innovation, it's resilience, it's drive, it's again this lifelong learning attitude. It's the other day I was reading the curriculum of a professor who talks about wrongdicity, and he's expert in wrongdicity. And I thought, what is wrongdicity? So wrongdicity is being aware that we're wrong and that we need to, develop skills of being better listeners and having this drive of continuously learning and continuously adapting and changing. And this is these are values and attitudes, behaviors that, of course, the MBA program, being a longer program and having all these inputs that I talked about, enable students to go through this journey. Some will go through it better, some will have more difficulties, but I think they will all come out with this idea that they need to continue working in themselves and working in this self-development. We always start with this self-awareness, no? So they find what are their blind spots, and they do it in this, as I mentioned, very supportive, very caring, and very supportive environment, so that they can really become confident about making the necessary changes that they need to overcome their own fears and their own weaknesses. Yeah.
Lovely, thank you very much. Someone else has asked specifically how your school has coped with the shift to moving MBA courses online due to COVID-19. And then they've asked a slightly more challenging question, perhaps. Do you think that online teaching will overtake physical classroom teaching following COVID-19? And I suppose that moves us on to the debate about, have we seen the end of the classroom-based MBA? So I was just wondering if you had some thoughts around that.
Yeah. Well, we, as many schools, were surprised by this. I actually had come back from Brazil, and 24 hours later, I was already in my home, like everyone else, because the campus the two campuses had to close, specifically for the full time, the ones that are having classes all the time. Our executive MBA, it's in blocks, so it's every 3 weeks. But the full time, it was a very swift transition, I must say. It took us about 2-3 days. So we locked down on a Friday, and on Wednesday we were already delivering classes online. it was difficult. Some teachers had more training in how to deliver online courses, others not so much. But I think it was I would say, I don't want to use the word successful, but it didn't go wrong in the sense that we, from the very beginning, involved the students. And we did it in several ways. We increased tremendously the communication with students in order to get their feedback on how to improve the experience. For instance, one of the things we did, we shortened the period of class. The classes were before 1 hour and 45 minutes, and they became 1 hour and a half. And instead of doing 45 minutes and plus 45 minutes, it was 30 minutes a break, 30 minutes a break, 30 minutes. This was a solution we found because they also understood that this was the better way to get the learning experience. So I think the engagement with the students through surveys, through talking to them, getting their feedback, and trying to find new ways and new solutions for getting the best of this online experience. And then on the other hand, we understood the importance of training professors. I mean, professors need to understand and to implement actions in order to enrich the delivery of the content online. So, and this is key. This is essential. I mean, you're not born with that skill. And if you've been a professor all your life, giving classes face to face, it's not easy to transit to this online format. Regarding the question if we're going to go back to normal, certainly the normal, it's the new normals for us and for everyone else. And I think this online component, it's going to be part of the way we're going to deliver education. And I must say, in certain aspects, it's really very enriching. For instance, we started to do with the alumni community, like many other schools, webinars. Our alumni community, we're not very large community. It's about 3,000 alumni, but 27% are away from Portugal. So it was fantastic because we started to really get on board alumni that somehow or other could not really come to the events we organized in campus with the alumni community. So also enlarging the links between alumni and yes, expanding the possibility of connections and relations have been very, very positive. And I guess this format of hybrid, of blended, will be increasingly the way to move forward.
Thank you very much. I guess building on that, a couple of people have asked about network and culture. So I think sort of expanding on your comments about your alumni network, somebody's asked, network is very important for students and alumni. How can this be replicated in an online environment? And I think connected to that, someone else has asked about culture and how important the culture of the business school, and I suppose the unique selling point of the business school is to students and applicants. So really, how can this unique culture also be, I suppose, outlined and really felt and understood and respected by students and faculty, I suppose, in an online environment?
Yeah, well, networking, I'm going to give you a personal example. I did my MBA 30 years ago, and I did in Spain, and many of my colleagues are Spanish, but many are in many places around the world. And we have a WhatsApp group, and we use that tool for the last 2-3 years to engage. We get together once per year in an annual event. But the WhatsApp has been absolutely a fantastic channel to keep in touch about news, about even people who were unemployed, they helped each other through this tool. So I think the online somehow takes away, of course, this human touch of face-to-face networking, which for me, it's being a Latin, it's a very important feature of relating to people with a human touch. But on the other hand, as I said before, it gives you the possibility to connect with so many people that otherwise you could not do so. Again, I think it would be a combination, taking the best of the both worlds, you know, the physical contact, getting together. I mean, I hope by the way, we're back in campus. So we're already, you know, giving classes with masks on social distancing, but we're back in campus. I think we will eventually go back to normal, where we could, you know, shake hands and have this contact. But again, I think now everyone is getting very used to technologies, and this will be part of the way we continue working and behaving and relating to others. So I think it will be an added value, this digital environment. Culture is another thing. Culture is more complex. Because and culture is extremely important. We know, you know, culture, it's strategy for breakfast, and I think values are things that are not easy to transmit, or not so easy to transmit digitally. I think certain things need to be lived in real life to really. But we will invent new ways of transmitting the values behind the culture, and we will have to do so. But we will need to learn of how to be proficient in that area, so important for us and for corporations, because we're having this issue, but many companies are having this issue. So we will have to also teach our students of how to engage and expand the cultural values of a company in a digital environment.
Absolutely, thank you very much for that. Somebody else is really asking how, in your opinion, students have reacted to the new normal. You know, are they enjoying these new and innovative ways of teaching? Are they still feeling engaged? And how, I suppose, are you measuring that engagement and taking feedback from them?
Yes, again, I think communication has been key. In our case, has increased tremendously. I have, in the beginning, we used to have every week a meeting with we call it the Students Forum, which are the representatives of the different programs. We have 3 programs running at the same time. I mean, the reaction, this is one of the things. I mean, we train our students to be resilient, to learn and to adapt, to change and to drive this change. Some of them are more struggling. They're struggling more, and because their environments are also more complex with as I said, family, little kids, and older dependents, and also because, for instance, we have many international students. 65% of our cohort is international, and some of them during the lockdown they were living in very small studios, completely alone, without any family support. And we were very emphasizing, especially to our Portuguese students, the need of being supportive with international students, to you know, check on them, to talk to them every day, to get their groups online, and to continue caring and supporting each other. That was a very important message, and I think it has worked very, very well. We didn't have anyone. We did have 1 or 2 who were emotionally very much affected, but I think overall the groups, the peer support, and of course the faculty and the staff have been very committed and engaged in this process. And it's part of life, right? So this is these values and attitudes that you need to develop, and that's what we say. MBAs are to transform you. You need to be transformed yourself first if you want to transform the way you lead and how your teams work, and eventually to drive transformation within your organizations. So it's been interesting to live during the MBA program a real complex and struggling moments like this. I think it's part of the experience. They will look back to it, I think, saying, wow, you know, we came over it and we came out stronger.
Yeah, it's really interesting you should say that. Yesterday, one of our speakers mentioned that, you know, MBAs should almost feel privileged for taking part in their MBA at this very unique moment in time. So, you know, that sort of resonates as well. So that's really interesting that you mentioned that. When you mentioned that you'd gone back to campus, this had opened a lot of questions. I think a lot of business schools taking part in the webinar today are sort of, you know, preparing to move back to campus. So somebody's just asked for some advice on that. What has been the biggest challenge in returning to campus? And what advice would you offer business schools who might be faced with this reality in the coming months?
Well, we've done it very, very progressively. I must say that we were privileged because the campus, especially the Nova SB campus where we are right now, they didn't open for everyone. They just opened for our programs and some very scarce, limited executive education programs. So it's a bit of a sad thing because when we go back to campus, it's a beautiful campus, but it's like a ghost campus because there are very few people. So, of course, all the hygiene measures that our government, our health leaders are not recommending, but they are imposing everywhere. So we follow that very, very closely. Of course, everyone has a mask. There is been a big investment in terms of putting stickers everywhere to show the social distance necessary. Classes have had to doubled in terms of physical space. That means when before we could have in a classroom 50 students, now we need a bigger, much bigger classroom in order to respect this 2 meter social distance between students. And I think also there is bigger stress on professors because one thing is to participate and to listen, another thing is to be talking all the time with a mask. But that's the way we have to do it right now. So all professors have a mask. But also we have given the possibility to professors to choose if they want to continue online. So right now we're doing elective courses. And so what we have done is we have given professors the possibility to choose if they want to do it online, if they want to do synchronous or asynchronous, or if they want to come back to campus. Fortunately, I think most of them wanted to go back to campus. But when we have offered the elective courses to students, we precised and defined what was the methodology so they could also take their options, taking in consideration the way that the courses were going to be delivered. But yes, I mean, it's going to be more difficult in September because all the courses are going to restart. And we're going to have to keep a very close eye in how things evolve. Fortunately, in Portugal, we are right now very much in control, but we're seeing all over the world there are new cases in China and the States. It's still, for instance, in our case, our students were supposed to go to MIT now in May, June, and we agreed with MIT that they would go in January. But we will have to closely follow how things go about also in the United States.
Thanks, Maria. That was some great, really practical advice. Somebody else is asking around employer relations. So you talked about the new normal and how, we're in a new normal now, things are going to be different going forward. And someone's asked if you think that the needs of employers will change and adapt post-COVID-19. And in line with that, do you think that this will change the demand for MBAs and as such, what's taught and discussed in MBA programs?
Well, yes, definitely. The last part, definitely, and I think this is what has made us valuable and what needs to continue being done, very, very much so, which is mirroring the market needs. And for that, we need to be very much in contact with employers, with recruiters, understanding really what are their requirements in terms of technical, hard skills and soft skills, so to continue adapting and integrating in the curricula the new contents and new ways of delivering those contents. I think in our case, corporate relations is an essential part of our management, and we haven't had any issue going about continuing relating to our partners and to opening new partnerships in the online format, and everyone is working online, so we haven't had any problems with that. Regarding the MBA program, as I said in the last slide, I think it is true that it's going to be a short term. I must say some companies are struggling, so they have their budgets being reduced, and but it's as I said, we need to continue engaging with employers in order for them to understand the need to upskill their workforce, to upskill their leaders in a lifelong learning attitude, in order to really answer the complex problems that they're going to have to face, from revisiting the business models, transforming their business models, transforming their supply chains, operations, and so on and so forth. But still, we find sometimes a little bit of a barrier, because sometimes these type of programs, which are not cheap, it's a financial liability for companies, and it shouldn't be like that. It's an investment in human capital and talent development.
Lovely, thank you very much. We've had a couple of questions come in around diversity. So looking at really asking you around your strategy for recruiting international cohorts. You mentioned that it was very important in the Latin culture to have that face-to-face networking, and people are sort of asking how I suppose the new normal is impacting your diversity strategy in recruiting internationally. But also someone else has asked if you think that might have an impact on other diversity strands such as gender in terms of enrolling people onto programs.
I don't have I do have a very clear answer regarding the value of diversity that I already mentioned. I mean, we do live in a global world, no matter how many politicians want to think otherwise. And not only because of that, I think because being in a diverse classroom, you really question your own assumptions, your own perceptions, and others, and this enriches the discussion and enriches the way you think and find creative ways to answer complex problems in enriching the way we look at things. If the procedures in order to acquire more diversity in classroom, I think, of course, it has increased in terms of the way we do it. It's not because, for instance, we have many students coming from Latin America, and some of them are having real problems to get visas or to even think of the possibility of leaving their countries and coming to Europe. So it's going to be difficult in the next year, I see, in our case, to continue with such a percentage of international students in our programs. As I said, right now it's 65%, so it's pretty high. Also, I must say that Portugal in the last years has been very much an attractive place to come and live and work and start your own business. So that has played an advantage in our value proposition, but it's not going to be easy in the next year. I guess we're going to have more local students. Regarding gender, this has been an increasing trend. Right now we have 35%, and I guess in class we have 35%, in the executive MBA a little bit more, 38%, but this is an increasing trend. So we might end this next cohort around 40% being women.
Thank you. I think we've got time for one last quick question. Well, I say quick question. About 2/3 of business school leaders believe that the MBA is going to have to fundamentally change over the next 10 years. And I guess I'd just like to find out what your thoughts on that are, whether, how you think the MBA in business education will change in a slightly sort of medium to longer term. And do you feel optimistic about the future?
Yes, I am an optimistic, a realistic also. By my personality is based on that, but I think change is, we live on ongoing change, and that also or more affects business schools and MBAs. There's going to be merging, there's going to be consolidation. I don't think we will all survive. So I think this is going to be an increasing trend. And people are also talking about, making partnerships, strong partnerships with technological companies. I cannot talk more in depth about it, but for instance, Harvard and Facebook, or MIT and Google. There's going to be also new ways of delivering or structuring or implementing in this learning ecosystem with a co-creation, very strong co-creation with institutions and corporations. I think this is going to be very much so. I don't know if
thank you. Oh yeah, you absolutely answered the question. Absolutely. I was just going to say, I think that's all we've really got time for in terms of questions, but you certainly got through a lot. So thank you so much for giving a fantastic presentation. It was an absolute pleasure to have you this morning. Some really good practical advice and lots of inspiration to take away. So it's been a real pleasure to have you speak today. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
As I mentioned, unfortunately, that's all we have time for this session, but we have plenty more sessions to come during the rest of the conference. And in fact, we've got a very busy day of conferencing today with 3 more sessions to come. So session 9A will explore geopolitics and its impact on business education, and that's with Normit Chismadia. And then session 9B will be on looking at how to liberate impact by rewarding academic intuition and sense making with Wilfred Meinhardt. Session 9 will start at 2 p.m. today. I've posted information in the chat box for you. Apologize, the formatting went a bit strange there, but hopefully you can still see the links and click through to book onto those. After that, at 3:30 BST, we'll be joined by Scott Miller and Fabian Maillard from Keystone Academic Solutions, who'll be talking us through strategies to adapt your student recruitment strategy in a post-COVID world. If you've already signed up for these sessions, you will have or will be about to receive an email from us with a link to join. But if not, as I mentioned, I've included the link in the chat box for you. If you've missed any sessions, we've put all the recordings of the first 7 on our website already. And I've pasted a link in the chat room so you can find it and access the content there. And as I mentioned, some of you have asked about networking and sharing ideas following sessions. So we've made attendee lists for all the sessions available on our website. As I said yesterday afternoon, for security reasons, these are password protected, but I've pasted the password for the delegate list for this session in the chat box. And I'd also recommend that you follow the hashtag BSLF on social media channel of your choice, comment on the post, share your learnings, and have a good old socially distanced conversation online. We've got 16 sessions to come, and you can see all the remaining sessions and register via our website. So all that remains to say is thank you once again, Maria, for a wonderful session this morning. And I look forward to seeing you all, hopefully later today, on another session at the forum. Thanks again, Maria, and goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.